discussion of the day. We move on to a set of presentations. Yesterday, we explored for the Sesame brand, for the Sesame market, we explored the supply side situation with different origins. Now is to look at the demand side of the same story. So as we look at the Sesame markets for 2025, I would like to start inviting our sessions chair and the panelists to join us on the stage as they give us a country-wide focus on the areas that have the maximum sesame demand expected over this year. Ladies and gentlemen, this session is chaired by Mr. Mukul Gupta, the owner of Shakumbhri Organic Exim LLP. Let's give him a round of applause as he joins us up here. Giving us country-wise, territory-wise focus on the demand side of sesame. From China, we have Ms. Hashin, the Senior Sesame Consultant, CFNA and Marketing Director, Henan Yixin Industry Company Limited. Welcome back, ma'am. Good to see you. We move on. From Japan, we would like to invite Mr. Takeo Kaji, the trader and section manager of Sesame Seed Section, Cocoa and Sesame Department, ITOCHU Food Sales and Marketing Company Limited. Please put your hands up for Takeo-san. Moving on, giving us the focus on Korea will be Mr. Mihir Parmar, the director of Mamta Commodities. Inviting Mr. Mihir Parmar to join us on the stage. Giving us, shining the spotlight on US and Canada would be Mr. Mustafa Puri of Allgold. Inviting Mr. Puri to join us on the stage. Giving us the overview of our host this year, Turkey, I would like to invite Mr. Selcuk Akilli, the CEO of Inci Bulgur. Let's hear it for Mr. Selcuk Akilli. That's quite an applause, I must say, and I hope it's for Turkey and, of course, Mr. Akilli. Inviting our final speaker, our final presenter for this session would be the head of Sesame Trade AST Enterprises Incorporated. Diving into Eastern Europe is Mr. Usman Riaz. Please, let's hear it for the Egypt overview by Mr. Ghazwan Mousallati, the CEO of Leno Gulf. And as I have all the speakers up here, may I once again remind you, as the panelists give their presentations and their territory-wise focus, the Slido is open to you to post your questions. All the questions will be taken up by the session's chairperson in the end. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great session. It's time to explore the buying story for Sesame.
Good morning, everybody. Probably the most important session that everybody was looking forward to before we end this conference. People standing outside, please come in because this is where we decide if the market is going to go up or down. We are really going to give numbers, so you need to take care of everything that we say. So first, we have Ms. He. Would you like to start your presentation first?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to come here again. At the outset and on behalf of CFNA, I would like to express my congratulations on the opening of WSPC 2025 and my sincere thanks for the kind invitation extended by Mr. Srivastava, the president of Eventu Global Advisory, and I wish your conference a great success. My topic today is the China sesame seed market situation. I would like to share some information with you from these four aspects. Let me begin with the sesame demand in China. The total demand for sesame in China is about 1.5 million metric tons. However, more than 80% of it highly depended on the international market, among which about 1.1 million metric tons had to be imported from overseas market, and more than 150,000 metric tons through border trade, and only about 250,000 metric tons were domestically produced. In terms of the uses of the sesame seed in China, about 50% of the total, 825,000 metric tons for crushing usage, including about 330,000 metric tons to big oil plants, and nearly 500,000 metric tons to small or medium oil processors. Of the total demand, about 40%, 600,000 metric tons for edible usage, including about 270,000 metric tons for hard sesame seed and about 330,000 metric tons for roasted sesame, sesame powder, sesame paste, and so on. Most of these processors for edible usage are small or medium-sized. Besides, we have a small portion, about 5% for export and others. Here I have to say something about evolution of Chinese sesame seed production. Actually, at the beginning of this century, China was also the largest sesame producing country in the world, with more than 700,000 hectares and nearly 800,000 metric tons production annually. Since then, our planting area for sesame have been gradually decreased, reaching about only 200,000 hectares with about 250,000 metric tons of production in recent years. One of the major reasons is our rapid urbanization has led to a great decrease in rural population, particularly among young labor force. Another main reason is the corn, the peanut, as the major competition crops with sesame seed in China have basically achieved mechanized cultivation, while the cultivation for sesame in China still remains at the stage of manual operation. So our limited farmers have to choose crops with high efficiency in cultivation and only maintain small area for planting sesame to maintain their own consumption at home and some needs of the very traditional customers. Of course, sometimes encouraged by good prices of sesame seed, our farmers also switched to planting more sesame seeds instead, but that cannot change the trend, I think. This year, we planted more than 300,000 hectares, which is an increase of about 30%, but influenced by the severe drought during the growing period and continuous raining during recent harvesting time, which is still continue. And I think the yield will be much less than previous year, and the production may be around even less than 300,000 metric tons, lower than we expected 1 week ago. This is China's sesame import and export with price. Over the past 10 years, we had an annual average import of about 800,000 metric tons in the first 5 years, and more than 1 million metric tons for the second 5 years. Last year, China imported more than 1.1 million metric tons, hitting a historic high. It's clear that China's sesame imports have increased more significantly since the COVID. This is basically attributed to the further decrease of our domestic production and a very strong demand for healthy products like sesame seed. So more imports were inevitable. In terms of the price, there is a big gap between import price and export price. Export price was usually over $800 per metric ton higher than the import price, so we have to import. This is China's sesame imports by origin over the past 10 years. And with the rapid growth of China's sesame imports, I think the price from most of the countries have changed dramatically. For example, before 2020, Ethiopia and Sudan were both successfully the largest sesame supplying country to China. After that, Niger overtook them as the largest one. Last year, Niger exported more than 310,000 metric tons to China, breaking the Ethiopian's record of about 300,000 metric tons set in 2016, followed by Pakistan, since zero tariff was approved by China in 2020. It only took 3 years for Pakistan to become the second largest sesame supplying country to China, with more than 160,000 metric tons annually. The supplies from other major origins, such as Tanzania, Mozambique, and Togo, have also improved very well, each ranging from 100,000 metric tons to nearly 150,000 metric tons annually. This is the market share of the top origins in China. The overall supply from the top origins accounted for more than 90% of China's total sesame imports. They are very important for us. Except for Ethiopia and Sudan, their shares both dropped from over 30% of 5 years ago to less than 10% of last year. And Niger and Pakistan have been far ahead in recent years, ranking first and second last year with 28% and 16% respectively. The other three origins shares have remained above 10% respectively for most of the year. Let's look at China's sesame imports this year. From January to July, China totally imported more than 775,000 metric tons, which is about 150,000 metric tons more than the same period for last year, with an increase of about 25%. Except Ethiopia, Sudan, and Mali, the supplies from most of the countries have increased significantly this year. Niger continued to be the largest supplying country to China with more than 370,000 metric tons, which is almost about 100,000 metric tons more than the same period for last year, and even more than the total volume of last year Niger exported to China, hitting a historic high, far beyond our expectation. This year is the first year for Brazil to be approved to export sesame seed to China. By the end of August, we have received around 16,000 metric tons sesame seed from Brazil. I believe more on the way. In terms of the price, this year the average price is around $1,400 per metric ton, which is nearly about $300 more than the same period of last year, a decline of 17.5. Actually, there were very obvious price differences among different countries due to differences in quality, variety, delivery time, and other factors. At the same time, the price competition among different countries was very fierce. This year, the cheapest price was from Brazil, the highest one still from Ethiopia, except for the one from India, which was mainly for black sesame seeds. Now I want to give you some information about our market, very, very simple, just for your reference. Every year, more than 80% of imported sesame seed in China were discharged into Qingdao, then into local warehouses for distribution, for storage, or further cleaning or section. Many traders in China prefer make deals according to the stock situation at the port. The stock at the port has been always changeable, but its change followed a clear pattern over the past years. For example, to build up the stock in the first half of the year with the arrival of new crop from origins, and to destock in the second half with arrival of our peak consumption season in winter. In terms of price, it is also very complicated. And here the cost price basically included the contract price and all expenditures occurred at the port. And of course, it is influenced by many reasons. The price and the cost price was consistent with the international market price. And based on this cost price, the sales price for imported sesame seed in our domestic market often fluctuated with the stock change, including expected arrivals. For most of time, the higher stock, the lower price, vice versa. Since 2020, the price has experienced roller coaster side. And this year, our stock at the port has remained at a historically high level, and the price keep downward. And most of Chinese importers have been losing money. We hope that this stock will come as always, and the price can stabilize at least. So we have a large demand for sesame, which highly depends on international market. So the stability and the sustainability in supply have become our major concern. We have to face a lot of such challenges, especially in the most of sesame producing countries are far away from us, and their social situation are very different with ours. So far, there is no proper platform for us to trace such information like planting, harvesting, stock, exports, and so on. Not mention that sesame seed trade was very fragile, easily being affected by the factors such as commodity prices, exchange rates, inflation, and weather, the geography risks, and so on. So the supply has been always unstable for us, and the price always fluctuated sharply. This year, the biggest news for our Chinese market may be the sesame supply from Brazil, based on large-scale mechanized cultivation. Yes, I think it's no doubt that it is improving the global sesame supply, but also challenging the global traditional cultivation for sesame. Anyway, these challenges are ahead of us. We are willing to keep communication and cooperation with all the friends in the sesame seeds industry and to confront the challenges and promote the further development of sesame business for our mutual benefits. Finally, I'd like to introduce a little about CFNA. CFNA is the largest chamber of commerce in China, serving for import-export of foodstuffs, native produce, and animal products. A China International Sesame Conference held by CFNA is the largest and most popular sesame conference in China. And as for the details about the conference next spring, I think CFNA will announce it timely. You are welcome to attend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mishi, for the lovely insight about the Chinese market. The numbers that you show on the screen interest everybody because they move the world in terms of value and volume and prices, with each and every slide being monitored very carefully. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Mihir Parmar from Mamta Commodities India to give an insight on the Korean market.
Hello, everybody. It's very good to see you all today, this morning. A room full of people is always good to see. And I would first like to thank you, Mr. Mustafa, to extend me the opportunity to speak today in such a lovely audience. My topic today is on Korean market, and by Korea I mean South Korean market, obviously. And I'm going to start my presentation on that. So today we are going to be discussing the demand, import patterns, import origins, Korean tender, supply chains, and trends and outlook about the Korean market. Korea annually consumes around 100,000 metric tons. It's divided into two parts. The domestic production is merely 10,000 metric tons, and 90% of the demand is actually imported. It makes onto the list of top 5 importers of sesame seeds worldwide. And it's a very important destination for a lot of supplies over here. So Korea has a very unique way of importing sesame seeds. It has the highest import duty on sesame seeds you might have ever seen anywhere, which is like 630%, which makes normal imports next to impossible. Nobody would import out of any quota. So 80,000 metric tons, 80 to 90,000 metric tons of sesame seeds is imported via the quota. And 10,000 metric tons is brought in by the means of hand carry from nearby countries, actually. Because the local price of sesame in Korea is very high, like let's say $6 to $8 per kg. So which makes it a very lucrative option for a lot of people to just bring in sesame seeds actually inside the country. So import patterns. So there are 3 official channels from which Korea manages their supplies. It's the government tender, the Chinese free trade agreement, and the private quota. The government tender being the major one, and many people are participating to the government tenders. The China FTA is also one of the important. The China FTA is also one of the important channels, which is around 24,000 metric tons per year, as well as there is a 10,000 to 13,000 metric tons of a private quota as well, in which any origin can participate. So these quotas are actually given to private companies, auctioned by the government, and then people are allowed to bring in the cargo. Whereas in the government tender, the government themselves take the responsibility of bringing in the cargo. So we'll take a look at how the government is importing, how they are doing the imports in Korea. So the importing body in Korea is AT, that's Korean Agro Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation. They are responsible for managing the stockpile of sesame seeds in Korea. They anticipate the demand and fulfill the requirements of the local industry, and they import majority of the sesame seeds into Korea. So there are only 2 types of varieties that they are buying, all of which is Sortex quality. The parameters are as shown on the screen. Usually, like a good Sortex facility can easily fulfill this requirement and these requirements. Yeah. So now we'll see at which are the countries participating in the Korean tender actually. So India has been the dominant player in the Korean market since last many years. Very close access geographically to Korea, and direct vessels gives it an edge over other countries to provide a stable supply of sesame seeds to the Korean market. New players have been emerging recently in the last 5 years. Pakistan has been producing a lot. Nigeria has been getting a lot of new facilities in their country, and Sortex facilities are being set up in, let's say, Tanzania, Mozambique, and a lot of other places as well. So a lot of people are looking forward to supplying their Sortex quality cargo to the Korean market. So now we have seen who imports and where they import from. Now we'll see what happens inside the Korean supply side. So AT, the government company, they import the cargo, as well as the cargo is imported by the private players, and they then are stored in warehouses across Korea, and they are then after that sold to the local companies within Korea. So that's how the Korean local industries are able to procure the sesame seeds. They are not allowed to import directly from let's say, if they want to deal directly, they are not allowed to do so without a quota because the import duties are very high. So now we'll see at some of the domestic utilization and consumption trends in Korea. The peak season is usually from November to February, which is in line with the Lunar New Year and the festivals, holidays. During that time, the consumption is at its highest, and the cargo which is brought during the months of, let's say, December, auctioned off in the months of, let's say, July, August, is usually delivered by the time it's in October or November, so it's usable for the peak season consumption. March to July is the moderate demand season, and low season being August to September. So that's how they are setting up the trend of importing sesame throughout the year, and that's how they are managing their inventories. So quality standards have been very strict in Korea. They always are looking for pesticide-free cargo. As they are a developed nation, they have a lot of food safety standards in place. All the cargo has to be tested through a KFDA-approved labs, and only then they are allowed to enter into Korea. The due diligence at the port also takes anywhere between 10 to 15 days just to clear the cargo. And what they require from the buyers is timely delivery. The delivery schedule is very strict over there. It's one of the only countries that are taking based on the delivery schedule. They need before a certain time period the cargo to match their stockpile requirements. So there are a few collaboration opportunities also, as we can see in the coming future, like contract farming. They can maybe possibly start in, let's say, one of the few origins like Africa, Pakistan, India. Organic certified sesame also is one of the areas that they are expanding, and they are importing via the means of private quota. And more or less, they are looking for developing more long-term partnerships with these countries. Maybe in the near future, Brazil also could be one of the countries that might supply to the Korean tender as well. So last TRQ auctions, which were in the range of 1370 to 1466 CFR basis, have been favorable for Korea. They are more interested as of now to procure the stock, build up their stocks at these levels. And they have been taking, many countries are supplying to the market from Africa, from India, Pakistan, and there has been a strong competition because of the falling market in the recent days. The price outlook overall looks to be stable. The market has gone into a stable state, and the price, I think, more or less is here to stay around the similar levels going forward as well. The norms of the regulatory tightening, it's getting more and more difficult these days to supply in the Korean tender because of their food safety requirements. They are pushing continuously for high quality seeds. They are pushing for pesticide-free cargo, and they are themselves checking a lot of samples. They are making the suppliers do a lot more tests to make sure that the cargo which is coming into the country is safe for the consumption of the local people. So that's it from my side, and I'll be happy to connect later on if you have any questions regarding that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mihir, for the insight on the Korean market. Staying still east, I would like Kaji-san to give us a presentation on the Japanese market.
Hello, everyone. Good night, and listeners. So there's less Turkish people, although. My name is Takeo Kaji. I'm from Japan and from ITOCHU Food Sales and Marketing. First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude. It's my honor to be here to talk about the sesame seed, and And thank you for the concerned people who organized this conference and everybody who attended the meeting today. I've been doing the sesame seed business as a trader for 10 years. And my company share is like 40% in Japan as one of the top leading company. So I'd like to quickly talk about Japan sesame market. This is the agenda. I'd like to talk 3 points mainly. Situation in Japan, just import volume, crushing volume, and oil export volume as a number. Number 2 is challenging ahead. And number 3, and recent movement. Okay. First, I'd like to start with the import data in Japan. Last year, we import approximately 193,000 tons, which is 17,000 ton increase by previous year. And this year, first half, it's like 9,000 ton, which we can easily imagine that end of year, maybe we import like 180 ton or something like that. But we can say in the decade, the number is between 160,000 to 190,000 ton. It's very stable number. And out of total import volume, like 60 to 70% is for crushing grade, and rest of 30 to 40% for edible purpose. And this is the, I would like to tell about the, out of total import volume, approximately 87% is from Africa. We rely on African country. And only 9% from South and Central America, and 4% from Asia. Although recently we import from China, we use the inventory in China and clean in China to make transit time shorter and for the better cleaning quality. But generally speaking, we import from Africa, especially for crushing grade. The top of the import country is from Nigeria. And next is Burkina Faso, and Tanzania, and Mozambique, and Paraguay. And I would like to tell about the crushing volume in Japan. The crushing volume is like these 5 years, it's like 120 ton per year. It's very stable and slightly increasing, we can say. And to see the end of the stock of raw material, we can expect how Japan will purchase the raw material from now. And this is the recent, latest market, latest crushing volume and the stock. This is like a 6-month term. And the crushing volume is still same. It's slightly increasing. But to see the end of the June, the stock of the end of June, last year was very low. And toward to the end of the year, last year, we keep purchasing, and now it's becoming back to the normal level. And also, export volume of Japanese sesame seed oil related to the export, crushing volume. And in the year 2024, export was the highest since 2012, which is like more than 10,000 tons. And destination is mainly for US. The first half of this year, it's approximately more than 5,000 tons, so it's like a good shape. But we have to be careful, or there will be the 15% of tax. The Japanese government agreed with President Trump, and we have to see the export volume, how it's going to be. Now, I would like to talk about the challenges we are facing. Needless to say, our biggest concern is the rejection issue. Actually, some of you maybe knows about there is a food sanitary law in Japan, and there is the inspection before import. And if there is any chemical detection over the limit, that cargo will be rejected to import. So before, there was main concern was the imidacloprid, which is the name of the pesticide. And after 2017, there was a law revised the minimum residue of the limit. And after that, it looked like this concern was calmed down. But from 2023, many kind of the aflatoxin and other chemicals has detected, and this is our biggest concern. The most detected chemical is, this is not chemical, but aflatoxin is the most biggest concern. And the last year, it was historical high rejection issues. And we need to minimize this risk. And next, carbaryl and other chemicals are detected. So now Japanese quarantine officers is more strict to inspect not only the aflatoxin and carbaryl, but also other chemicals. And there are mandatory inspection in Japan. Whatever the cargo, sesame cargo, from this origin, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Tanzania, Mozambique, China, we have to do the mandatory inspection by the government. And also, there is a random inspection increased by 30%. This is from Pakistan and Bolivia. So now there would be more cargo now heading to the Japan from Tanzania and Mozambique now. So we should be very careful about the rejection not to be occurred. Because once there will be the rejection, the cargo, of course, we should ship it back or we have to resell to another country. Not only that, but also the importer will be on the website as an offender. We don't like that. So we need to be very careful about that. And one more thing, before we proceed the custom clearance, we did the voluntary inspection by ourselves. So even if there is no rejection even if there is official rejection, if we find out that it's chemical detected, we need to ship it back or resell to another country, which we have to be very careful. And besides this chemical issue, there is the geopolitical risk. These are the country Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced. The red part, we Japanese cannot go inside. And so there is many places which we cannot enter to the country, which means we cannot physically check the operation there or how the chemical is applied, or and we and customers are kind of difficult to decide how to purchase from this origin. So I'd like to tell you our challenges ahead. The most important thing for Japan is stable price and stable and reliable supply and stable good quality. And not only that, I think we have to expand domestic demand. So we would like to know how the sesame is used in all over the world, and we would like to expedite R&D in Japan. And third point, I think there is more possibility to sell overseas market the good quality sesame products. And as number 3, I'd like to introduce our recent movement. So, facing these challenges, we'd like to promote, expand the origin to hedge the risk, and also supporting local farmers. This is, we feel, it's very important things. And purchasing materials, mechanical harvest. This is especially nowadays we see many South American countries promote this mechanical harvest, which is less effort and or less like child labor issues. And these days, many of our customers interested in this SDGs activities. And yeah, although we have to be very careful about chemicals and FFA issue, but this growing is a commandment, we have to say. And it is important for us to have the, our people stated in abroad and who is familiar with that origin. And we have only the trading house who had a dedicated sesame person in abroad, such as in Kenya or Asuncion. And also, we have the trading team in China, which is the biggest consumption country. And they are very much familiar with the market, how the Chinese buyer would like to purchase from now, so which we very much rely on that. Now I'd like to introduce a little bit about SDGs activities in Africa or South America. Sometimes we drill the well for the African people. It's like, yes, supporting the farmers and as well as the people at the origin. And also, we made kind of rulers using the sesame seed and some plastic. It's a biomass plastic, and we make rulers and give it to the schools in Mozambique. Such kind of activities there are so many activities like a coffee or chocolate, and our sesame seed customer also influenced by such activities, and they are very much interested in this SDGs activities. So we would like to keep supporting the origin, and we'd like to expand the business. This is the end of my presentation, and may your business and business flourish. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kaji-san. Very insightful indeed, and the last slide was nice, that you're taking effort for social welfare. Moving east, from east to west to the Middle Earth, we have Mr. Ghazwan telling us about Egypt.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. Thank you again, the organizers, for an amazing job. I'm not going to give you a lot of numbers. I'll give you some insight of what I think as a trader, broker, processor, where we're heading this year, some insight about Egypt, and some insight of what could be done with technology. Sesame supply and demand transformation. What's going to be happening this year, in my opinion, what I see, that there will be stable supply prices ahead. Today, the new world of sesame, there will not be any huge spikes or shortages. The steady supply from year-round harvest has been, it's a perfect storm for stability, I think, as a processor I'm speaking, where there are stocks available worldwide, carryover available, plus new seasons coming up, and distribution being done calmly. Traditional traders shift from focus to stock and DTP. Due to what's been happening with Brazil and the decrease in prices, for example, as a trader myself, we will not be buying fiercely, but at the same time, all traders will be buying, bringing in, and stocking and selling calmly at the countries where they are operating at. Of course, new entrants and competitive pricing is always an issue. The world is getting bigger. Origins have new generations coming up. Education is getting also better, which is a good thing. So there'll be new entrants coming in, new traders coming in, and new brokers coming in, which is very natural. Supply transformation. In my opinion, as a processor in this point, is that the quality parameters are not the same anymore. Bag-to-bag does not exist. Suppliers, we will need to definitely focus on the quality, upgrade our act, and the new 99 is going to be the Sortex, and the regular cleaning is going to be full cleaning. As a processor of tahini, I learned the importance of actual real cleaning, full cleaning, these toners and gravity, because every single machine has a purpose. And impurities is not only impurities that you see with the bare eye, but dead seed is also very important for all of us to start focusing on, because it makes a big difference, as you see simply with extraction rate. Today, when we do sell processors, they are rating us on extraction rate. They say, okay, your sesame is giving us 85% tahini. This sesame is giving 83, 80. And sometimes we buy at 99% purity, thinking that the extraction rate is great, but when there's dead seeds and there's light seeds, the extraction rate can go down up to 5%. So that's huge. And also with sesame oil, we process sesame oil cold press, and we also find a huge difference between good cleaning and sub-good cleaning. And also with the filtration, it makes a huge difference with time and efficiency. Demand. Today, I think nobody is panicking. There will be purchasing flexibility. People can buy calmer, focus, spread their purchasing habits, and at the same time, payment terms has become a little bit, or actually not a little bit, a big impact, because in the past we used to start collecting our cash during May, June, July, and by September, October, we used to need to have a big chunk of cash to be able to buy in one shot at origination and get the best prices. But at least for this year, it's much easier. Plus, the low financing costs will also affect the end product's pricing, because in the past we used to have to buy and stock for 6-7 months. now we can spread our purchasing patterns. This brings us to a very important point I wanted to share with you as a processor, which is the blending phenomena. Of course, famous Brazil is the big star in the Sesame conference. They have clearly proven themselves in price, purity, and respect in supply practices. As our colleagues mentioned in the past, they used to say K3 is bitter, K3 doesn't hull, K3 this and that. However, when they priced it at $300-400 below, the bitterness started to disappear for some reason. Everybody started to focus how to remove the bitterness. So with the gap also between Gadarif and Humera of $300, $400, $250, $300, this wasn't the situation. I've been in this industry for 20 plus years. Back in the days between crushing and edible, it was $50 to $100, $120. Today, when there's a $300 difference, solutions are being made, and they are made. So today, also with the blending formula, there's another advantage which I have realized and a lot of processors have realized is the pesticide residue. When we do buy an X variety and we see the pesticide is above EU level, with the blending phenomena, the pesticide level is being shared and going to an acceptable levels. Plus, another advantage which I would like to share with you is when you buy, for example, K3, let's keep the focus on that because it's the big star, and it's Sortex level with the correct blending formula, with the correct processing system, you can actually bypass the disadvantages of unhulled seed with non-caustic, because when it is white, skinned, with the new technology of tahini processing, it is being diluted and it is not affecting the end results of at least the color of the tahini. Egyptian market, I'm not going to give you a lot of numbers. It's quite simple numbers. Egypt is a huge market, especially for tahini. And Sudan has borders with Egypt, and a lot of action is going on through cross-border. Not everything is written on the books, but it is harmless to the Egyptian economy, so a lot of it is coming into Egypt. Brazil stock has played a big effect in the past 2 years, some negative, some positive. A lot of defaults have happened in Egypt, which is something we need to all address in the near future for the benefit of our longevity in this business. Local sesame is out already. Just last week I bought the first batch. It is a very good seed. It is good for tahini. It is white. Some of it is pesticide infected. Quantity 30 to 40,000 K, not more than that. The most important seed for export for our Japanese friends and some Asians is the golden seed, which is at 10,000 to 15,000 real golden seed. The statistics, as I mentioned, 30, 40,000 local production. The local consumption and exports of mostly tahini is around 130 to 150,000, but 30 to 40% or 30% is still under the table manufacturing processes. Local production and consumption, the market structure, as I mentioned, there's a lot of small operating factories around the country that represent 30 to 40%, and the big players are well known. The blending phenomena is being applied by the big players. Me as a processor and a trader and a broker, I have started to blend myself, make a formula, make an end product, and show it to the end client, and they're happy. So K3 is here to stay, in my opinion, and it is favorable. Local industries where they can soak and use salt and put the sesame for 3 to 4 to 5, 6 hours are eliminating the problems of hulling and the taste. And for this year, or before that, the pricing, Egypt is a very price conscientious market, so it's all about pricing. And there's a lot of carryover still in the traders' warehouses of Brazil, and Sudan still has a lot of old product that is moving in cross-border. Technology and Sesame. What I want to talk about briefly is that the new world is going to be forcing us to make a system where we can all actually work together under a system or a platform where we know who's who, and who isn't who is actually introduced by us into the system where we can actually grow our business that we worked so hard on. Plus, as my colleague Mr. Kaji-san said, is empowering the next generations at origination and also at the buyer end. So the digital network for industry pioneers is to establish for exporters, buyers, traders, and brokers require a strong verified network and trade hub that safeguards of our hard work and enabling business connections. The way I think it should be working, and we will talk about it later and in the next years, is we will be inviting each other and making verifications of who's who and defining credibility of suppliers by having KYC. They have the machinery, they have the team, they have the documents, they have the paperwork, and they have the know-how to be able to sell with minimal risk. And also by defining respect, we mean also at the other end, the delivery, the buying, the payment, and the defaults is also controlled. The platform, what we're doing is going to be called Jasmine Trades. It has been programmed for the past 3 years with its special coding to enable us to do the business as we do today in the analog world, but to the digital world. I have made a short video to take our mind off talking, and if you can play the video for us, please. It's a brief, nothing in detail, but just a small idea where we're going in the next few months. It's done. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for that insight. For the audience, Ms. Shi has to go. She has a flight to catch. So if you have any questions for her about the Chinese market and what the Chinese system would be like, please shoot ahead, because she'll take a few questions and then she has to leave. We've seen in the past that the Chinese supplies were replaced from Ethiopia or Sudan to Tanzania and Mozambique. With the new supplier, Brazil, and coming in very strongly, what do you think they will replace first, Tanzania, Mozambique, or something else?
It's a very competitive topic. It's difficult to say because since July, we just received the Brazilian sesame seeds, and it is, for most of the processors, we are on the stage of trial. They have to adjust their facilities and this and that. But as our company's situation about the arrivals of the Brazilian sesame seed, and it's okay, except for the aroma, maybe a little light, or some people said, and no taste, something like that. But everything else is very good, especially their color, the size, and the purity. It's satisfactory to our customer. Of course, still we need time. And currently, it cannot because different season. Harvesting is different and the variety is different. For example, the African countries and the summer crop is from the Tanzania, Mozambique. They are very different. Different and especially different aromas, different usage. And for Western African countries, I think maybe the Brazilian sesame seeds can compete with the normal quality of Nigeria sesame, but cannot compete with the seeds from Togo. And our biggest competitors with the Brazilian sesame seeds, maybe according to the time, the arrival time, it is from Pakistan. The Pakistan, for the normal quality from Pakistan, I think the price basically, I think, can similar to to the price from the Brazil. Even Brazil have a 10% tariff. It is our experience. And the market, I think, can recognize this point. Yeah, thank you.
Interesting points.
Hello.
She's covered basically everybody. So you take your guess which is getting replaced now. So
Hi, good morning. It was nice presentation of you. I have some questions. My first question is, from Tanzania and Mozambique till end of August, what are the quantities arrived? This will give an idea for us that what is on the way and expected arrivals in the coming months. If you can give me a figure till August, what are the quantities of Tanzania and Mozambique arrived? And my second question is, as per your presentation, you said about 775,000 tons imported till end of June. And as per the previous year's estimate, probably China will buy 1.1 million ton or at the most 1.2 million tons. So probably there is another 500,000 tons China can absorb. Brazil only 16,000 tons arrived, so probably another 200 plus thousand tons has to arrive in China. Pakistan has to come. So you mean to say that with the current trend, so if Pakistan and some of the Mozambique, Tanzania on the way, plus the Brazil, it finished the demand of China for next 6 months. Or maybe there is a possibility because of the price drop, this China can consume more from 1.1 or 1.2 million ton, whether it can go to 1.5 million tons. Because otherwise, where this sesame seeds will go. Because the Middle East and all these things are, not that big volumes they can take. Thank you.
I think at least from the two countries, at least more than 150,000 metric tons will arrive and end of the August. All the 100,000 metric tons totally. But finally, in the end of the November, maybe it will be, according to the data of the same period of last year, it will be nearly 300,000 metric tons from both countries. And as you mentioned, your second question that is related to our total demand, whether the supply can meet our demand or our demand cannot meet the supply. Of course, there is a surplus there in front of us. And usually the 770,000 metric tons we import, it is deducted the volume from Myanmar. Every year, from August to end of this year, and we have to import it about 500,000 metric tons. That is our previous records. So that means at the end of this month, we have to import it more than 1.3 million, including the seeds, Brazilian, and but does not include the Myanmar. Myanmar totally, from customers' statistics, usually we have about 700,000 metric tons from Myanmar. So from Brazil, I'm not sure how many quantity will be arrived, but basically around 100,000 metric tons maybe. So last year, our total imports is about 1.1 million. Does not include the volume. So this year, the volume from Myanmar. So this year, I'm sure it will be more than 1.3 million tons. It is almost about 200,000 metric tons more than the last year. So we have a high pressure on the oversupply. That is why the price has been on the, not bottom. I don't know whether it's bottom. It is on the historical low level. That is happening because of the oversupply.
If I understand it correctly, you said the imports from Myanmar do not come into your data of imports. Does that mean China is actually consuming about 2 million tons of sesame? 1.2 import plus the domestic plus Myanmar?
No, Myanmar, the totally we can trace the total volume is around 150,000. Maximum, I think, and no, including the border trade and the statistics from the China customer totally. Maximum the 180,000 metric during the COVID. Yeah.
At the current level, is sesame seed can be a good substitution for the peanut? Because probably your crushing demand in sesame can go up.
It's a good question. Yeah, when the price difference and then get some the level that replaced each other, especially the paste.
The new crop estimation from China, which will come now.
You missed the estimation.
Yes.
Because before I left China, according to our team, the investigation, this year we should have how can I say, more than 300,000 metric tons, maybe an increase of 30% than the previous year. Totally, yes, like that. But these days, there is a continuous rallying in the major and the sesame producing areas. It is, I think, continue to damage the seeds, especially the color. And this year, the seeds are damaged 2 times. The first time is at the beginning, when the seeds grow in the field, and at that time, very dry. It is the news you can read from the TV, the newspapers, and it's popular. It is a big problem. At that time, the damage and some of the field. Yeah, not only for sesame seed, but also for peanut. And corns also seriously influenced.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up here for Ms. Shi.
Yes.
And she has to leave, so we'll give her a
So
little
we have a memento for Madam Hashin. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give her a round of applause. Let's wish her safe and comfortable returns from Istanbul.
So we carry on our sessions. And the next we have for Turkey, Mr. Selcuk Akilli.
Welcome to Turkey and our lovely city Istanbul. Hoş geldiniz ve ehla ve sehla for Arabs. And thank you for this organization. It is my first time to do this. About us, we are going to do it with 5 options. About us, sesame seeds market overview in Turkey, sesame seeds usage areas, export and target consumers, expectation and challenges. A little bit about us. Inci Bulgur was started by my father, which is for Akilli, is in Hatay in 1994 today. It's a top Bulgur producer and exporter. It's known as one of the best brands in Middle East. The company exports its products to many countries around the world. We are now one of the Turkey's largest sesame importers. Expanded product sesame seeds with me, which is 2nd generation. This growth shows its focus on consumer demand and high industry standards. I will go a little bit quickly because I think we don't have enough time. Let's go with the sesame seeds import rates by year in Turkey. As you've seen, these numbers are increasing day by day. In 2020, we were 120,000 tons. In 2021, it comes to 140. 2022, 150,000 tons and still increasing. In 2023, it comes to 180,000 tons. It comes because of there was some big shortage in Greece, in Syria, and some political issues in Syria, Iraq. Because of that, we import and we bought too much cargoes. And it comes in 2024 to 195,000 tons. Same problems are continue with this Syrian and Iraq, Israel and Palestine. In the first of the 3 months in 2025, we see that the numbers are not changing too much. It is almost the same of last year. Let's go sesame seeds market overview in Turkey, what everybody is interested with it. Now this year we import more than in 2024. It is For Chad, it is 70,000 tons, which is huge number because we are using it in small seeds, mostly for bakery. It's very important for us. Second is Brazil, 38,000 tons, which it's really increasing day by day. And third is Nigeria, which was second, but now it comes third. It means Nigeria and Niger together, we can say both, 37,000 tons. Then Sudan, it's 25,000 tons, which has come 13% of this. Ethiopia is 6,500, maybe 7,000 tons. And Tanzania, Mozambique, we are always calculating it together, like 5,000 tons. Burkina, Togo, 3,000 tons, and others, which is 10,000 metric tons. As you see in our imports, it is changing in every month. It's first 5 months, it's increasing, and it comes the new crops. When new crops comes, we are importing too much. Then before Tanzania and Mozambique crop, it's coming down a little bit, decreasing. Then on the second season, it is growing up with Tanzania, Mozambique. This year, we did not import too much Tanzania, Mozambique. It is because we have too much stocks, and freight was high, plus it comes in 60 or 75 days from Tanzania and Mozambique to Turkey. Sesame seeds use areas. Turkey's main export products are tahini and halwa and hulled sesame seeds, which is 40% is tahini and halwa, and 60% is mostly hulled and for bakery. These are Turkey's most available sesame products. These foods are not only traditional and popular, but they are also known worldwide for the great taste, high quality, and health benefits. Annual volume and usage. While Turkey is a net importer of raw sesame, it's processed large volumes into tahini and halwa every year. Hundreds of thousands tons of imported sesame seeds are transformed into finished products that are exported worldwide. And also there are around 20,000 tons raw sesame export from Turkey to Syria, Iraq, Israel, and sometimes to Europe, to Greece. This is the biggest challenge for us. Our stocks are changing very quickly because of this. For example, we have now carry for maybe 30,000 tons. It comes because of this, because last 2 years we export too much sesame seeds to, as I said, to these countries, to Syria, Iraq, and Israel. But this year, I think it is not more than 10,000 tons, and it will continue like this. Because of this, we have really big stocks now in our hands. Key markets, exports are directed mainly to the UAE, Middle East, and the USA, where demand for traditional and ethnic food is strong. These countries are like real high-quality sesame products, and Turkey is known as a good and trusted supplier. In Europe, people from many backgrounds buy Turkish tahini and halwa. They are popular because they are really healthy and natural. In the Middle East, people buy these products because they are part of their traditional food and culture. In USA, more and more people are starting to eat Mediterranean and plant-based foods. So this market really growing fast. For example, hummus is really, everybody start to like hummus. And expectations and challenges, sesame price fluctuations. In Turkey, people keep buying the same quantity for halwa and tahini. It's not changing too much, so the local market doesn't change. However, companies that sell hulled sesame seeds are affected. Some get stronger, while others become weaker. Now, when you see the Brazil numbers are really growing up because of, it comes like 40,000 tons because of hulled sesame seeds. We start to export in really good numbers to Europe, and I don't know how we are going to compete with Indian hulled sesame seeds, but it goes good, not bad. But price is really very important for us. Inflation, Turkey's inflation is exciting, like 60%. has significantly reduced the purchasing power of the Turkish lira, and Turkish lira has lost just this year 20% of its value. These are making Turkey market very difficult and strange. Urgent food safety notice, and this, I think this is very important. Non-compliant sesame seeds in the Turkish market, I think approximately 5 or 6,000 tons of sesame seeds failed, rejected because of aflatoxin, pesticide, and salmonella just this year. And I think next year it will be more than this. The strict quality control applied to shipments for markets like the UAE, Japan, and Korea is not being applied to shipments for Turkey. This is, I think, it's important for us also. This situation poses a significant public health risk, plus the same high standards must be enforced for all markets. Thank you for listening to me. And I'm waiting good questions from you.
We'll take all the questions. We just have 2 more sessions. We'll quickly wrap them up. For Eastern Europe, we have Mr. Usman, Riaz. And after that, we have 1 more session, very interesting one coming up for US and Canada. Since South America is here, so we thought we'll invite somebody from North as well. And that will be the end of the presentations, and then we'll be open for questions. So please keep your questions ready.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is my first ever presentation. I have little stage anxiety and stage fear, so I hope if I make any mistakes, please excuse me. My name is Usman Riaz, and I represent AST Enterprises from Dubai. There's a brief introduction. I will just move forward for the next slide because the time is short. So this is what we do. We are based out of Dubai. Our head office is in Dubai. We established this company in 1998. It's a private family-owned company. We do annual volumes of 350,000 to 400,000 tons of multiple commodities. Our originations and supply regions are East Africa, West Africa, Ukraine, Russia, Australia, and global offices in China and Vietnam, which are more of a sales office. The commodities which we are doing is oilseeds, pulses, peas, beans, nuts and spices, grains, and animal feeds, and coffee is the recent addition to our portfolio. And there's a map where we are present, which is the green ones are where we have our own presence. So today I've been given a chance to speak about Eastern Europe. It's a small market, but it's becoming a very important, and I think it's a growing market in future. So when we talk about Eastern Europe, we cannot deny significance, importance of Greece because of its strategical presence and growing into manufacturing and importing and being a gateway to Eastern Europe. I'll specify which is the countries in Eastern Europe I'll talk about. So Greece is doing import, re-export, and gateway to Eastern Europe. Annual imports of sesame seeds, which is natural, and hulled is about 12,000 tons to 22,000 tons. 22,000 is referring to hulled one. The purpose which they use is tahini, halwa, and manufacturing bakery, toppings, re-export into Balkan and Eastern Europe. That's why they are very important. The next, hulled import percentage is around 55 to 70%, and they are also producing domestically. The natural sesame seed has 30 to 45% of share. The key origins of suppliers to Greece is Sudan, Ethiopia, Nigeria. Sudan, Ethiopia, Uganda for natural sesame seeds, and for hulled, obviously, India, Nigeria was always leading, and Pakistan become a new force for hulled sesame into Europe. And we cannot deny the importance of our Brazilian friends also. They are there, and Paraguay is also. So next is like the compliance in Greece is very strict, especially they have very strict MRL testings, and if you pass these, I have mentioned the pesticides, ethanol oxide, and aflatoxin checks. They are very strict in Greece. If you manage those and if you pass those, then your sales to Eastern Europe becomes very easy. And they heavily influence also the quality because they are very quality conscious now. So next, these are the main facts which I already have spoken. They are very important because they have established some new tahini and halwa factories, which is in Athens, Attica, and Thessaloniki, which they convert raw material into the finished goods and supply to neighboring countries. The main ports in Greece are Piraeus and Thessaloniki, which provide efficient entry into Albania, Romania, North Macedonia, and Serbia because of the short inland lead time as compared to the Northern Europe or other part. So they are standard setters also because being good quality importers, and if you pass Greece standards, it's easy to sell into Balkans and Eastern Europe countries. They do re-export. Greek traders are distributing both raw and processed goods into the Eastern Europe, and the price in Greece always drive the market and the region also. Now we are talking about the real players of Eastern Europe. So there are like 6-7 countries. 3 are very major main players. So their total import, which is estimated, they are estimated figures. Please, if there is any change, you can check yourself. They did around 65,000 tons in 2014 to 24. The key hubs are Poland, Romania, and Bulgaria. They share almost 65% of the demand in Eastern Europe. The main usage is same to any other European countries. It's bakery, halwa, tahini, and health food. The annual growth is estimated again, which is by next 5 years is 6%, which is, I think, will attract a lot of people who can supply to these countries. And we expect that Eastern Europe market can grow up to 100,000 tons a year by 2030. So the key takeaways, Eastern Europe is a niche market, but it's a growing market as well for sesame. The demand to be increased by 50% in next 5 years, which is 6% growth annually. Poland, Romania, and Bulgaria is always important and the biggest importers. Organic and health segments rising fastest. And then opportunity for direct suppliers to halwa and tahini producers. So good luck to you guys who supply to Eastern Europe. So these are some figures I have tried to build up. So I think almost 65 out of 65,000. The highest number is going to Poland. And then it goes to Romania, then Bulgaria, Hungary, Czech Republic, and so on. So what they have done so far, the projections which we are doing basis 6% growth, 65,000 tons was in 2024. With annual growth of 6%, I wish we all achieve this and we can reach up to 100,000 tons. So there is a small breakup I have given that Poland is importing 24,000. It can reach up to 34,000. Romania is 11,000. They can reach to 15,500. Bulgaria, 8,500, 12,000, and so on. So there is a graph that the gradual increase by 6% and how it will grow. We hope it's a steady growth and then we can reach the target of 100,000 tons. There's another graph which giving the market share distribution. I try to pile up, so I think it will remain almost similar. So 37% to Poland, 17 to 18% to Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, and so on. Thank you all for giving your kind attention and having me on stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Usman. That was good for first time. You said you were nervous on the stage, but it didn't look so. So now we have the last session coming up from North America. Mustafa Puri from Allgold. And he's going to give us insight about the American and the Canadian market.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. Mr. Vatsa, thank you for the invitation. To the organizing committee, I think a show very well put on, very well organized. And to all my colleagues in the industry, welcome. Thanks for coming, and thank you for listening to me today. We're going to talk about the North American market today and what it means on the importation side. To be fair, I don't think we're covering all of North America because I won't be speaking to Mexico. It's just not a market that we contribute, and I wouldn't think it's fair for me to provide a narrative. But insofar as the US and the Canadian market is concerned, it's a fairly mature market. It's a totally import-orientated market. We do not have much reprocessing as it pertains to sesame as a fundamental. As you can see on the slide, roughly 40,000 metric tons of premium, by and large, hulled sesame seeds are consumed in the United States, of which 36,000 tons are imported. And you have roughly 35 to 4,000 tons, which is grown indigenously, which is a fairly recent, fairly recent, it's been about a decade, where you've got a southern belt of cultivation across Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. It's very niche, and it's processed for natural Sortex for supply to the domestic market. The Canadian market is 100% imported. The 9,500 metric tons that you'll see there on an annual import and consumption basis, again, that's by and large a premium hulled sesame seed, which is intended for end users. Whatever little bits of natural are being imported is more for reprocessing in tahini production. And again, as I said, there's zero indigenous sesame cultivation in Canada. So the usage and application in North America, and as again I said, it's a fairly mature market. We are not reprocessors of sesame seeds at all. Ours is for end usage. By and large, the bakery and confectionery market, you know, the hamburger buns, the breads, the bagels, and the bagels tend to be a big deal up and down the tri-state area in New York as it extends across the country. Tahini is becoming ever more prevalent. As one of my friends here mentioned, hummus seems to be all the rage for all its health-conscious properties. And I think with a burgeoning immigrant community, as it continues to grow across North America, you're going to find a lot of ethnic consumer behavior and patterns solidify, grow, and I think with that, offerings will continue to increase by way of brand space on shelves. The snacks and plant-based, again, with the North American consumption pattern, it's a very health-conscious orientation by now. Everyone is reading labels, everyone is looking for logos, everyone is looking for something to make themselves feel good about themselves as they go ahead and consume whatever it is that they're eating. And in that regard, I think sesame hasn't yet been touted as the superfood that it might be in other parts of the world. I think there's a little bit of resistance when we speak to the allergen sort of status on the next slide. And then the crushing for oil is a very, very small amount that's happening mostly in the United States. And that's more, again, your immigrant community, entrepreneurs who are doing such activities. The food service sector is important. QSR across North America, you know, you've got your retail chains in that McDonald's, Burger King, and the likes. And finally, the non-food use is something that I think might be interesting. It's not really there today, but sesame extracts, and as it gets into personal health and cosmetics, skincare and things of that nature, that could be important. And so, sorry, there's that point on allergen versus superfood. We know the properties of sesame seeds, and in that it's protein rich and it's antioxidant. Unfortunately, we have an allergy crisis, I would say, in North America, where a large chunk of the population might be averse to certain ingredients. And so I think that creates a little bit of resistance to sesame seeds being taken on a wider scale. And we speak to things like school programs and the USDA with its manufacturing pockets on third-party vendors. And so once declared an allergen, it's not such a friendly ingredient for the school program to be using for their products. Insofar as consumption across North America is concerned, you do have a bit of seasonality. Depending on the part of North America that you might reside, we have 2 seasons, unfortunately. We might not have 4. And what that means is for the 3 to 4 months in some parts of North America that the sun comes out and says hello, you know, everyone likes to put on their shorts and get out and barbecue. And obviously with the barbecue, you'll see an increase in hamburger bun consumption and therefore the uptick in sesame. There, again, is an increasing demand owing to ethnic consumer behavior and products becoming more prevalent. And sesame oil, more again, albeit a seed oil, but I think there are certain properties whereby it lays claim to being a better alternative than to some of our more rudimentary seed oils. I think this is pretty clear by now. The United States continues to be a market that appreciates ethylene oxide treatment, which is counterintuitive to everything that the sesame industry stands for. It's bonkers. I don't understand it. And frankly speaking, it's a preventative measure, I think meant to control liability over and above everything else. ETO, we understand, might not be the best format of ingestion. You do not want people, I think, consuming that type of chemical on a wide scale. And so we are eagerly awaiting for FDA to revise legislation on that. Something I understand is happening and is expected to come out over the next 2 years. We've seen 600 odd pages of working papers whereby ETO is a substance that is suspicious for other health concerns. And should that materialize, I think, hallelujah, it's a good thing for the market. We'd rather use safer formats of treatment. Canada is an ETO-free environment. I would say that's more down to the good Samaritans that Canadians are. It's not a banned substance, but we don't like it. And as leaders in the marketplace with a consolidated import panel, I'm really proud of our colleagues, all of whom maintain that ETO is not something we want to be involved in Canada. Again, Canada being an almost exclusive market for premium hulled sesame seeds, there is next to no usage of natural unless for the small batch artisan crushing that might be going on. And other than, I would say, a few units who are producing tahini and having their own in-house peelers that they can take the natural and pasteurize it on the outbound. The US, again, is also a very similar market to Canada, obviously larger. The one thing I would say, though, there is quite a robust import of Sortex natural sesame seeds, and that's more just down to the consumer behavior or consumer preference for bagels, where up and down the tri-state area across the East Coast, it's a preferred format of sesame on bagels as opposed to the rest of the country where you'll see hulled sesame being used. We have the tariff situation that's going on. Dear Donald hasn't yet allowed for some level of stability. And I was talking to some friends from Brazil yesterday. I think the consensus is at this point, and not to air some frustration, but we'll pay whatever tariffs we ought to pay. We'll pay whatever tariffs they deem necessary we pay. At the end of the day, it becomes a marginal conversation on 20, 50%, or whatever the tariff of the day might be. What we need is stability. The business community and the confidence therein has shook. Cash flows are extended. You're not understanding at what point your cargo is going to land and what it's going to cost. It creates for difficulties in contracting forward. We have a very robust manufacturing segment that requires coverage, and that too on a forward basis. And we don't know what preferred origins. A lot of these origins are legacy. They're spec'd and approved. They're comfortable. The North American mentality tends to be a conservative one that's not privy to change all too often. And for all those reasons, the tariffs create an air of mystery and an air of nervousness. Now, buyers are busily now looking around the world, figuring out where can we duty hack, where can we play the arbitrage, where can we bring sesame seed in that'll compete necessarily at a better rate than today's Indian tariff adjudicated at 50%. I'll make a comment in that it's discriminatory. It's not within I would say the economics of what we do. I think has more to do with politics than anything else, and that's where you see the trade suffer, or the onset of a little bit of suffering. It will create a threat for India. India is the major player in North America. When we talk about average prices in North America, I won't quantify it as it is. I'm not a very stats-heavy kind of guy. I want to just more sort of give you guys an idea what that market means to us and to the world. But prevailing Indian prices and the average therein across the year is what you can come to expect as a put-through cost in North America. At the end of the day, India is threatened if these tariffs stick, and you'll see price competition coming from places like Africa, places like Pakistan, places like Central America coming back up online. Just a note on Central America, they enjoy a niche segment with that QSR business that they do. Market access for other origins around the world to that business is strained and difficult and requires a lot of investment. And so therefore, the Central American origins like Guatemala, Mexico, they continue to rule the roost on some of that QSR business. But again, I think buyers are going to have to figure out price deltas across origins, but more importantly, quality restraints. Because I think my friend from Egypt was mentioning issues of dilution and things of that nature as it pertains to pesticides, et cetera, and these conversations will become all the rage. What we know with India is it's a safe origin. What we know with India is there's a certain reliance. What we know with India is there's a certain reliability, i.e. it's the known commodity and it's known players and tested through time and issues are there to be resolved. When we're comparing situations where pricing conversations are prevailing. The concern is quality might take a hit. And more importantly, we have a very robust import regulation that's governed by the FDA, the Food Authority, that controls safety across the country. And they're very vigilant right now. They're extremely vigilant right now. We see increased numbers of flaggings, we see increased numbers of detainment, and things are being caught. And I think, again, in speaking with some of my friends from Brazil yesterday, the idea becomes is, I'm the eventual customer. But before I'm your customer, the FDA is your customer. And you're going to have to satisfy the FDA. And without which, there's not much we can do because we're here to provide access. We're here to build share. We are a quality-centric market, but more importantly, I think the ethics of relationships prevail. So everyone's got a great chance if we all work together well. But it is an issue if passage isn't provided into our market, and that is necessarily something for an exporter to have to figure out in terms of how are they going to make sure that the quality, the microbials, price rationalization, all of that stuff is in line with what our market expects to gain access. And then again, I think the last point that's interesting on a tariff piece is, the legislation's always changing, I think. But at the end of the day, the way it sits today is you've got an advanced tax, i.e. an import duty on ingredients coming into the United States. You don't yet have those same blanket duties or tariffs being applied to origin Canada, origin Mexico. We have the UMCA, formerly NAFTA, and anything that was within that list, which is a very, very long list encapsulating most of everything, all that stuff is exempt. So at the end of the day, I think if these tariffs stick in the structure around which it exists today, you're going to have Canada and Mexico come into a situation where their manufacturing segment can be expected to grow. You'll see ingredients moving further across to Canada, potentially to Mexico. And as long as there's some element of transformation being presented on those ingredients, if there's a finished SKU that uses sesame as one input out of 5, you can expect that they'll gain access on those products to the United States, whereby they're tariff-free. And so that only really just strengthens the manufacturing hand for Mexico and Canada. The foreign exchange hedge has always been something that Canada enjoys. And if you look at the overall size of population in the US versus Canada, it's pretty surprising that Canada is able to take 10,000 metric tons. But the reason for that is there's always been a traditional sense of manufacturing that's moving finished goods across the border into the United States. And so that will always continue alongside any other labor and utility drivers that you might have, which are more expectant from places like Mexico, I would assume. Thank you. And I expected to not be around for the Q&A, but I'll be happily joining.
Thank you so much, Mustafa. That ends our session, and we move on to some questions. This is for Japan. You want to invest in machinery harvest. What about concern for FFA and taste?
Yeah, as long as the quality is, how to say, well recognized by the customer, I think there will be the possibility. Yes.
Is there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I think they figured it out. Brazil, they've disrupted the market situation. What took the industry 20 years to figure out, they've just checked all the boxes and they say, okay, you've done all the hard work, we'll just do what the best outcome was. So that's nice. This is a question for Turkey. What are the current stocks in Turkey?
I think, honestly, you need to, as I told in that 60% in inflation is there in Turkey, and 50 or 45% the cost of investment is there, the cost of the money. Because of this, I can tell you that you need to take advance payment 10% or maybe 20%. This is the best you can do.
From the 190,000 tons that Turkey imports, what do you think is the split between their own consumption and re-export?
I think last year it was 30,000 tons, but this year I think it is not more than 10, maybe 12,000 tons. Because as I told you, because of this countries, they are not importing from me, and Syria problems are solved. Latakia port is opened. Because of this, I think it is just 12,000 tons this year.
So I had a question for my friend Mihir. With respect to the growing Indian summer crop, is there going to be continued realignment, or is there realignment expected from a Korean tender issuance point of view and the demand pattern that's associated?
Yeah, so in India, the production patterns are changing in the last 5 years. Earlier, the winter crop was our major crop. Now it's neck to neck. Maybe this year, who can say, like it can be lower as well. Like winter crop can be lower, summer crop can be higher. So things have definitely changed up. Korea, they normally float the tenders from, let's say, December to September, October, and like earlier India, winter crop was the major crop. So they used to be really aggressive, like what you can say, well participated, and were supplying throughout the year. Now the thing is that the winter crop is not really that great for making Sortex cargo, which is suitable for the Korean. Summer crop is exceptionally good, which does great in this Korean tender. So due to that, the December, January, February tenders which are being floated, Africa has a really good chance over there because of lower summer crop, like winter crop production in India. Hope that answers.
Okay. Question for Mustafa. Is Africa well placed to ship hull to USA? With two of the biggest hulling factory owners sitting in our audience, you can keep that answer diplomatic to make them happy.
No, it absolutely is. And in fact, you've got proof of concept in us. We do it, and we've been doing it for the last 2 decades. I think with Africa, again, the question becomes is, our market requires the bells and whistles on certification, something that only a handful of guys, I believe, in Africa are able to provide. More importantly, it comes back to, I think, production techniques and the idea that we need stability and consistency in the quality that we receive. Shipment, transit times and logistics tends to be pretty difficult out of there. We've got transshipment points. Oftentimes, there's 2 points of transshipment before it reaches its final destination, whether New York or LA, and down south. And so I think it is viable, and especially considering the quality and the taste profile, it's very amenable to again some of your more ethnic consumption patterns. I'm a big fan of African hulled accessing the North American market.
Is the advantage only as long as the tariffs stay?
Tariffs? Well, I think, unfortunately, yes. I would say from a North American mentality, as much as if I talk the book on how much we personally love it as an alternative and in fact as a competition to India, I think the American buyer and the mentality is pretty anti that part of the world, if I'm honest, and it's more because of questions on food safety. I think some of those comments are dated. I think a lot of that narrative ought to be shifted. I would suggest to our African partners, maybe that's something to be focused upon, the narrative on food safety, because the American buyer, I don't think has the right opinion, in my humble opinion.
You mentioned
and sorry, the last piece on the tariffs. I mean, again, we are by and large predominantly, the sesame share belongs to India. The 50% nobody can rationalize. I can provide insight in that our market had absorbed 25% of tariffs in India without fail, quite smoothly. 50% starts to become stressed. And when you've got markets accessing the same geography at 15%, 10%, given what part of Africa, it's a strain on the Indian share. And I think Africa will continue to grow its presence.
You talk about food safety, and this is a question for both you and Koji-san, if she was there. With food safety becoming more prominent, ever-increasing conditions being put by the government, Do you think today, in today's world, the buyers, the sellers, for example, they are exporting not to a buyer in any country, but technically to the food authorities there, and the transaction, as we all know, does not end as soon as it passes the border, but probably your liability extends all the way till consumption. Is that the scenario in the coming years?
Right. I think I can differentiate between the U.S. and Canada because it is a different mentality and different approach. As I said in my presentation, the United States is more interested in policing the inbound material such that there'll be detentions and there'll be inspections and there's sampling and there's testing, and it's a bit aggressive. It's a bit predatorial. And I think that shippers have to be prepared to take on. And I know a lot of times conversations get muddled between private parties. Hey, are you going to provide assurance? Are you going to provide access? An exporter might say, hey, as an importer, what level of responsibility do you want to take? I think these conversations present the need for, again, KYC, but more importantly, the importance of picking the right partner. Your partner might not be able to do much in terms of the end resolution on issues of FDA and food safety, but they will help you to navigate them. And at the end of the day, we all need to realize is it's not an issue between private parties. If it's not managed and handled responsibly and correctly on behalf of your shipping partner, they're liable to get their FDA registration canceled. So it's not on me, and it's not on your import community. It's the federal authority that is very liberal and quick with this notion of blacklisting companies. So exporters around the world, please reorientate yourself. It's not your customer that's being difficult. It's the FDA that you need to address for your own sake so that you have access to your end destination market.
Absolutely. The same question for Usman. Usman, the European DG Sante is very strict on MRLs and things like that now. And we are talking only about the matured market of Hull, for example, the North America, European market, and a little bit of that region. Do you think it's accessible to African and the new origins, and only the presence of machine is enough, or do you think that takes more than machines to access these markets?
No, definitely any niche market is, the education is required to the farmers. Then the quality control done by the exporters themselves. Unfortunately, we don't have much of laboratories to test these MRLs in Africa. So there is an opportunity for companies or bigger companies or some investors. They can come and build up some laboratories or something there, which can improve these MRLs at origin. Because most of the time, any African cargo, even going to Korea, anywhere, because nobody come, even Japan, nobody comes to check in origin. So they all get rejected in destination, which is the drawback.
The rejects that happen in Korea, what happens to those then in that situation?
Yes, so for rejects to Korea, the supplier is liable to take back the cargo. They can either take back to their own country or they can choose to ship back to some third country. But the onus is on the supplier itself. The destination party, they don't allow, any leniency in terms of in case of detection of pesticides or higher FFAs, so it has to be taken back.
Is that the same situation in Japan? Is the shipper liable for everything?
Yes. If the cargo arrives in Japan and rejected by the government, there is no way that Japan can use it. It has to go out of Japan. And if it's by the private companies also, it's a similar situation. But I think now our Japanese friends are getting a little bit flexible by helping us, giving with some time constraint, because sometimes we're getting rejected after 1 year, after 2 years. Then it becomes impossible for us, and there was a replacement clause also. So how can we replace a cargo after 1 year or 2 years, which has been sold a year ago? So I hope some things have been changing in Japan. We are trying our best with our good friends in Japan. So let's see if they will accept it. Few companies are accepting it, but few are still reluctant to do it.
Yes, I agree that. And yeah, we have to decide that period which we can, we evaluate the quality. And in Japan, the demand, Japanese demand, the health conscious or ethical demand is increasing. For example, organic product is selling is very increasing. So as long as the quality match the market, there is a certain demand in Japan. Yes, yes.
I think Japan has to be more quality conscious than the price conscious because they are looking more down prices, but they want the best quality.
That's always the case for everything. You can't, I mean, that's business. I think nobody has any further questions, so I think we'll wrap it up. Tahina market, yes. For the Tahina market, we have our Middle Eastern friends. What do you think is the growing, what's the CAGR on an annual basis, you think?
I think Tahini market will not change in Turkey too much. We are trying to export, but it is not easy to increase the numbers. It's the same, it will not change. Because of, I think it comes because of a little bit the quality. Our import numbers are decreasing from Ethiopia and Sudan Gadaref. Now, I'm not happy with that, but they are, as you know, Brazil is a little bit, have issues with the taste, but they are start to mix it, like 10% or 20%, they are blended, and it makes...
Does that really matter to the customer in terms of the annual growth, their daily consumption? Does it make a difference if they have cheaper product, not maybe up to the taste that you say? Does that decrease consumption?
No. Cheaper product. I think cheaper products are just damaging the demand. Yeah, cheaper prices are not helping us because, as from my understanding, in Turkey, tahini is a food that you should feel the taste. Okay, taste is very important for halwa and tahini. And when you use like cheap cargoes, or not say too cheap cargoes, but a little bit not sweet cargoes, it is not helping us. It is not just damaging the demand. And one more thing I want to say regarding the rejected cargoes from Turkey, almost 5,000 tons this year. We can't sell it anywhere. Before that, last year and before last year, we sold these cargoes to Syria and some to Iraq, but this year, we can't sell it. This is really very important thing that we should send it back to the shipper.
The liability is the shippers?
Yeah, just to shipper, not to airware, to the third countries. No, we can't sell it.
So I think we all agree that we are coming to a point where till the cargo is consumed, the liability stays on the shipper.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you? What about your take on the growing demand for tahina? Do you think on an annualized basis, is it a product that is growing worldwide?
Absolutely. There's 2 points we have to differentiate in tahini. There is tahini consumption for Middle Eastern cuisine, which is tahini as is, without mixing or making hummus or any other dish. And there is the hummus market. So the taste for the pure tahini is more strict on taste. However, the growth in the international world is in hummus. And in hummus, there is chickpeas involved, there is salt involved, and few other ingredients. So the actual taste can be inferior, but it still has to be 100% sesame seeds. So to answer your question, tahina consumption is on the growth, mostly because of hummus. And from Egypt, due to the situation in Turkey and the financials and the inflation, a lot of business is coming to Egypt for credible factories, for re-export. And what we have realized, there is more demand on bulk IPC tanks of tahina from Egypt to the rest of the world.
We have a question for Mihir again. Is there any more tenders left for the year to Korea?
So the last tender bidding is on the 10th of this month, and it's of 11,000 metric tons, and that will more or less close out the tenders for this year. Normally they float 6 to 8 tenders per year, and normally they close it out till September, till end of September. So I don't think so there are going to be any more tenders, because they need to take the cargo. They have a limit of what you can say budget to take the cargo within that particular year. So they cannot extend like the tender of 2025 into 2026. They cannot take deliveries in 2026. So I don't think so there is any more time left after this to take more cargo. So this should be the final one.
Okay. So I think we'll wrap it up. And just to summarize all the presentations that I saw from the different regions, I think the world is pretty much sorted out in terms of demand and supply right now. There is a short-term pain to be had for the stocks that are lying off with the people at higher prices. But other than that, no origin or no slides if you have the pictures with you. There are periodic jumps depending on who's buying from what at what time. Other than that, the demand and supply situation after Brazil and Pakistan stepped up their production, that part is all sorted out in terms of supplies. And the demand is on a constant rise, but it's not on a dramatic rise. So no nation in the last, importing nation in the last 10 years has shown any dramatic increase in consumption. And no origin has shown a dramatic decrease, apart from India, of course, unfortunately, has shown a very significant drop in their supplies. And those minor supplies have been more or less covered by the extra market which is being created out of Japan, Brazil and Pakistan. So on that note, I think we'll end it, and we hope this year would be good for the trade. Let's hope that people eat more tahina, more breads, more sesame, and more dip it in sesame oil, and the business is good for everybody. We'll see you again next year. Thank you.
Amen to that. Thank you so much, Mr. Mukul sir.